Very good afternoon and welcome to the latest edition of the Blood Red podcast, coming to you as you would expect from the Liverpool Echo's offices in the heart of Liverpool City Centre. Well, the waiting is over. No more World Cup for you and me. The Premier League is back and Liverpool will start their quest for a 21st Top Flight League title at Newcastle on Sunday afternoon. How likely that is, we will find out in the coming months. To join me to discuss the likelihood of that and all manner of other things Liverpool FC related, I'm delighted to say I'm joined by the Liverpool Echo's sport content editor, Mark Jones. Mark, how are you doing?
Oh, good, yeah. Feels like a while since you've done this. You good?
Yeah. I'm fine. Yeah, I've not been in the chair for a few weeks. I'm sure you're delighted to have been relieved of hosting duties for an afternoon. Yeah. In and out. I'm not in next week either, actually.
Is that you telling me I've got to do it?
Just to pre-warn you, are back in the chair next week. Yeah, I'm off all of next week. I'm going to Valencia and Real Madrid games next week.
Nice.
So a bit of La Liga. Just check on the opposition.
See how they're doing.
See what they're doing over there. Check on Trent. I won't be booing, of course. That's beneath me. But yeah. So and then I'm back all the way then. So we'll see where that brings us. But I am here today, and that is the main thing. We are of course live. So if you are watching live, welcome. There is a live chat, and you can pop in with your own comments on there as we go through. And if they're legally sound, I may read them out. So Andoni Iraola is we are on the fringe of a new frontier, Mark. He did his
Brave New World.
Brave New World, a Spanish New World. We've swapped Dutch for Spanish, which in anyone's all-inclusive holiday is an upgrade. He did his first pre-match press conference today for a Premier League match, and Paul Gorst was there. Unfortunately, due to time constraints, we've not managed to get him back in the studio in time for that. But don't worry, Gorsty, we will cover for you. But of course, the most important thing I would say he's been asked about is where we're up to with signing a few new players, because Mohamed Salah has left, Ibrahima Konate has left, Andy Robertson has left, Curtis Jones is on the brink of leaving, and Liverpool have only sort of gone halfway to replacing those big name stars. But he didn't give too much away, did he?
He didn't give too much away in terms of, specifics or names or potential deals, but I think it's obvious, isn't it, that he's perhaps a bit agitated by the lack of business that's been done. Premier League season starts tonight, doesn't it? In a few hours when Arsenal play Coventry, and
it's a home win.
Yes, and Liverpool have signed 3 players this summer, one of whom was already signed in the January. The other 2, hopefully be good players, but one's come in on a loan deal as a bit of a stopgap, hasn't he? The other one looks a good, promising winger, but had we heard of him, before Liverpool signed him? Not really. So you can understand everyone's concerns, I think, and the manager shares them. I think he'll look at it and go, I want to succeed in my first season at the club, and I probably don't have the squad to be able to do that right now. So for it to be in this situation 10 days before the window closed, and he's quite obvious, he's quite clearly saying, isn't he, that they need new additions. It's clear it's not ideal, and it just feels like he's just suddenly right now. Just get going, and you've got to make the best of it. I think the one thing that you would say is a positive is everyone else is kind of in the same boat. So it's not going to be perfect, I think, for these first few weeks of the season, and it's one of these situations where see where they are in 10 days and who's come through the door.
Yeah, I mean, that's a bit frustrating from my perspective, as I guess it is for you, and obviously for the manager as well, because obviously, the Premier League season starts this weekend. Liverpool have got an important game at Newcastle United, where they've got a good track record, but it's never an easy game. It's going to be a cauldron. We're not exactly their best friends in recent years after a few battles and obviously the Alexander Isak debacle. So the noise around the game is different, but the pursuit of Bradley Barcola seems to have gone on for
Years.
much longer than... Yeah. I mean...
We were all much younger people when it started.
I want to be excited about the signing of Bradley Barcola, but if I'd be lying if I didn't say I was bored of it.
Yeah, massively bored of it.
Almost to the point that the mention of a failed effort to sign Yankuba Minter almost brought me back to life for a moment. But ideally, they're going to want at least someone in the door. My worry is with the Barcola thing, the longer it goes on, is the chance of the thing just falling through.
Yeah, I keep thinking that. It does feel like it's just... it's these incremental little updates you get every day, doesn't it? And there has to come a point where they draw a line under it, and one of them, I guess Liverpool are just waiting for the green light on certain elements of the deal, maybe, or certain structures of the payment. It's a lot of money, If you're talking about 5% or 10% of a deal, but that's when it's a deal of this magnitude. That's a lot of money, isn't it? So you would. Of course, you'd like him to be in the building already, but it just feels like that one is dragged on, and yeah, there is a real concern, isn't there, that it could just. I mean, if that one fell apart, then where would they be then? Because I think the whole thing, you go right the way back to a name that we were discussing right at the start of the summer, which was Diamande, wasn't it? And I wonder if the club were very confident on that one. I'm not sure if he's mentioned it on here, but I was talking about this with Ian Doyle recently. It felt like the club thought that was going to be one that they could do. Maybe there was a level of confidence there, and then all of a sudden that's not happening. And it's felt ever since they've been trying to catch up with that, and it's led to this kind of weird stalled summer that everyone's been sort of sitting around and waiting. And that coupled with the fact that the market itself has kind of lost one of itself, hasn't it, this summer? And lots of crazy fees are going round, and so it is mad the fees that some players are going for, and I think Liverpool have just sat back and watched it almost at times, and in a summer where everyone wanted this big rebuild and wanted this sort of brand new look team, if you like, it's led to this kind of impasse for a lot of the summer.
It doesn't really feel right, does it? Because they changed the manager, and obviously the manager will he can't go out and just spend unlimited, but he'll certainly want his own type of players.
Yeah.
And we have no body of evidence to suggest that any of those players that he's got currently are ones that he actually wants. He knows he's got a lot of top quality players. Let's not be cynical about it, but these are not players that he signed. So he's basically dealing with someone else's squad, and a lot of money was spent last year, and an incredible amount of money, and that didn't pay off, or it certainly hasn't paid off in the short term. Do you think that has made Liverpool more hesitant in how they've gone about business this year, or is it just a case of they've seen opportunities, tried to go for them, and so far they haven't quite got them over the line?
Yeah, I think it's probably that one. I think, well, the thing that when Iraola came in, I think that was sort of put around was, perhaps it will take a little bit longer this summer because the manager is going to want to look at the players and see what he thinks of them all. Remember when Slot came in and didn't say anyone, and that turned out all right, didn't it? But I think there is an element of that because Iraola won't have managed a squad of this quality before, the number of quality players that are in there. So he's going to want to judge them, and there's going to be players that he won't know about, that are on the fringes of things that he wants involved. But I think the key thing, the one that everyone keeps coming back to, is the numbers aren't really there, are they? And especially for a manager like him, because you look at his Bournemouth sides, he would quite regularly replace the wingers on the hour mark. He'd start with two wingers. After an hour, two would come off, two would come on. They'd play the half hour. Next game, perhaps those two that are on the bench started, and the other two come on. And you keep rotating it. And when you've got a manager who is not used to playing European football and not used to playing 2-3 games a week, that only becomes more important because you're not going to be able to run the same players over and over again. So that's why I think the concern is there. And I go back to it. I think you see it in what he says. I think he talks about it. He's quite open with it, isn't he? We need wingers. They need them. So the numbers aren't there at the moment, and that's why Barcola, that's why Minter are the names that have come to the fore. You go back to the Minter one. it just seemed to me a strange situation where, why would you? Did that bid go in? Was there any confidence it was going to come off? In the past they'd bid for players when you kind of knew it was almost done. They almost the bidding thing would be the last thing because you knew it was going to be
kind
accepted.
of agreed.
Yeah,
and let's not forget this player's injured as well.
He is.
He's out for
a couple of
8
months.
weeks.
Yeah, so when you've got that, and then you couple that with Barcola, are they afraid of making a bid for Barcola because it'll get rejected? Well, why aren't you just working towards what you need? What the agreements we're led to believe the agreements there with the players, well, both players, other players as well. It sounds like they've been speaking to, but it just feels like the last bit of it isn't there, and how they used to be so ruthless and act so decisively in the transfer market, didn't they? Very rarely made a mistake. It feels like in this summer, which is the summer when it was important to be bang on with all this, is where it's just fallen apart a bit.
And PSG have signed players to replace Barcola.
Yeah, they're almost invited them in, aren't they? Yeah, PSG are like, come on, we've got our lads in. We've got our lads in that we want. We kind of want to get rid of Barcola for the money that we think that you'll pay, and buy as well the other young lad that Liverpool have been linked with. He's another one. You'd think that surely he has it'd be difficult for him now to get in the side because of he'd be behind Barcola, wouldn't he? So they couldn't have had more encouragement on that sense, could they?
No.
And it just feels like these things are dragging on. I'll go back to it. I think no one's perfect really at the moment, so there's probably an element of that. But we talk about that. But then there's a game on Sunday, there's a game the following Saturday, and those points still matter just as much as the points you get in March and April and May.
Yeah, and that is really my point. Is Liverpool aren't ready. They're not ready for the new season. They look okay on the pitch, and if they beat Newcastle, then we can. Well, someone else can sit here next week and say, well, actually, we were fine. But
there feels like there's a good enough 11 to 14 players that can maybe get them through Newcastle and Forest, isn't there?
Yeah.
Which are the two games they need to play before the window closes. So maybe they're relaxed about it in that sense, perhaps a lot more relaxed than a lot of the fans are. But still feels a bit like you're leaving a lot of things up to chance.
Maybe some of the the wingers that are selected might play longer than they may.
Yeah, because it's only one game.
Yeah, because they may expect to play in the future where they might be getting subbed on the hour mark. And playing in this irrelevable way.
The only thing we were talking about before, one of the interesting points from the press conference, I thought, was how he referenced Gakpo potentially being as a number 9. So the idea that maybe Gakpo is the replacement for Isak, perhaps late in a game, or is the alternate to Isak. So, well, if you're doing that, then you're removing one of the wide players. So you're left with your wide players being Ungamoa, being Munoz, and then you'd think 2 that they're going to sign. So if he's saying that Gakpo is now that, then that points even further to they just have to get these wingers in. There has to be 2 at least.
And to be fair, that is the one position he has called out as he definitely needs reinforcements in. He also said that he's open-minded about other areas. I'm not really sure what to make of that, to be honest. They haven't signed a out-and-out fullback, which tells me they're just going to try and muddle through until Conor Bradley is fit and stick with Tsimikas as the backup left back on the other side. Is that good enough or not? I don't know. Curtis Jones, as we know, is in Italy for a medical to sign for Inter. That is going to happen. That it would be, it's not going to fall through. I wouldn't have thought. So he is going, and that leaves a vacancy in midfield. Now he's bigged up Trey Naomi, who I thought was excellent in pre-season. He is only 19, so you have to kind of caveat that as well, do you? What sort of profile of player would you bring in? I'd imagine he wants someone experienced that can manage matches, but at the same time isn't going to stand in the way of developing someone like Naomi. I don't know. What do you think?
I really like Naomi, so I do hope that this is him getting his chance, but I'm aware that it is a risk. And, Curtis Jones played, was it? I don't know this off the top of my head, I read it before. 228 games for Liverpool.
That's it. I know it's in the 200s, so yeah.
England international. Now you can you can like him as a player or not. And I know he had lots of people who were caps on both sides of the fence, but there's experience there. He's a Premier League winner. There's a lot of there's experience there for someone who is in his mid-20s. Now, Naoni will not get that experience unless he starts playing, obviously, but it is big, I think, to suddenly say, no, we're okay in that position. Are they just saying they're okay in that position because there's a lot to do in 10 days, and if they're trying to get these wingers in, if they're trying to get a full-back in, oh, that's one too many? And so, you do wonder if they're just cutting their cloth on some positions. Ideally, you'd like a more experienced one. I think a lot of people would like a more defensive-minded one.
Yeah, I'm in that camp.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are. I mean, everyone's been crying out for years, haven't they? Really,
yeah.
Someone who is that more naturally defensive-minded. There's only really, I mean, Endo is the one, but you don't want him in the side really anymore, do you? He does his bit when he plays, but he's always been a stopgap, hasn't he? And he's always been someone who,
He's there when people get injured.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, he's knocking on a bit now, Endo.
Yeah, and he is
respect to him. So am I.
Yeah,
but
he isn't the sort of, if you never know. Look, these things happen when new managers. Suddenly, a player comes in from the cold almost, don't they? But you'd be surprised if it was him. So,
what about? Is there an argument that he perhaps, if he's trying to elevate Naomi through and play him a bit more? Is there an argument that if now that we know that McAllister's definitely staying and the other two have signed new contracts, is there an argument that maybe he's got enough because he's going to play Wirtz behind this front three, and he's only really needs two midfielders? I don't even know if I like that or not. By the way, I feel like this Liverpool defence is quite often exposed when it's out of possession.
Yeah.
I guess the new manager's going to have his ways of counteracting that, but it'll be interesting to see. But is there an argument that he'll think, well, I think I may have enough there already?
I think you're right about Wirtz. I think that's his position, isn't it? I think, and you look at the way that pre-season went, and what was really interesting was at times you almost thought Wirtz and Isak were playing as a front two. How close they were together, and Wirtz was really pushed up, wasn't he, up alongside him? So it does leave those two. He's going to play with the wingers. So yeah, Gravenberch and Szoboszlai are two players who've signed new contracts with in the last 5-6 months, less than that. They're the players that have been given the money. They're the players that are trusted. So it does feel like they're going to be the two. But those two players, touch wood, are largely robust players, aren't they? But you've only seen what happened last season in other seasons where injuries can bite and the squad looks thin. And also, when we spent all last season on these things talking about the squad being thin, didn't we? And it's got thinner. So essentially, whilst the new manager has got his ideas and he's got his formations and he's got, and I like a lot of what I've seen. I like that he's going to do this with the wingers. I think you couldn't lose a player like Salah and replace him. That's not going to happen, and it does make me laugh when you look around at some of the way the Minter thing was reported, and people are like, oh, they've decided that Minter is the Salah replacement. He's not. He's a winger. He's a good winger.
Yeah.
They want 3 or 4 good wingers in the squad. 4. They want 4 good wingers in the squad. They're not going to have Mo Salah in that squad. So, they want wingers that will facilitate Wirtz and Isak, who Isak you'd think will be, the main goal scorer. Wirtz needs to chip in with more as well. They want more out of those two. That's where the goals are going to come from. That's who's going to win them the matches. The wingers are going to be there to facilitate, and they're going to be getting goals themselves, but are going to be, doing more traditional winger things than Mo Salah cutting inside on his left foot and scoring 250 odd goals.
I like traditional wingers. I'm a Stanley Matthews man. If you cut me open, you wouldn't find him in there.
You wouldn't know. No. How much would he be worth?
Incredible. Adam Wharton's still available.
Yeah.
A lot of people like him. He's 22. Doesn't score goals.
No.
But passes the ball well. He's not really. I don't know what is he. He's not really a defensive player either. Really, he's kind of just a conductor, shall we say? Have Liverpool got room for one of them? He would class as a homegrown player.
He would,
and
they're obviously a bit short in that department, aren't they? From what Iraola said, it was interesting, wasn't it? He spoke about the wingers And then he said they might have to sort of, I can't remember what the exact phrasing was, but he basically said they'd sort of like look outside of the box for like these other, they might try and find other solutions for these transfers, which kind of makes me think someone's going to come out of the blue. A little bit like Araujo did.
Araujo, yeah. I've been practicing that.
Yeah. A little bit like he did, and just sort of, here you go, here's someone. Kind of makes me think it won't be someone like Wharton, who's a really good player. I really like him. He's a good passer, isn't he? But I do wonder if they think that's a little bit too expensive on the one hand, but on the other, just almost a bit too obvious, because I've already seen stories that like Man City were looking at him but have been warned off by Palace, and maybe it goes back to it being very late in the window, and that might be a deal that might be a bit too tricky to pull off now.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. As you say, City were also interested. We've already took an Elliot Anderson. I mean, what more do they want?
Yeah.
But English tax, homegrown players. These are the things that teams need, but they come at a premium, don't they? So the reality is that I think it's more likely that Liverpool will go without having signed any midfielders as we go into.
Yeah, I think the closer it gets to the end, those comments he said about Gakpo today, I've been wanting them to sign a centre forward. I don't think I'll do that now. I just think the fact that he said that about Gakpo, that means that's Gakpo now, who has also been linked away, hasn't he? Which would be, I know people aren't fans of it. There are a lot of people who aren't fans of him, but to sell him now seems a bit ridiculous.
I agree. Yeah.
So I've been hoping they'd sign a forward. I've been hoping they'd sign a midfielder. I'm feeling less and less confident that'll happen. I do think they're going to sign 2 wingers. They need to. Right back is another one they're probably not going to now. Maybe perhaps they think they'll muddle through.
Well, they'll muddle through.
But Bradley,
Jeremy Frimpong plays better as a right back than he did last season.
He's had a decent pre-season, hasn't he? He's looked
all
right.
Yeah.
Maybe he's one that can come through. You hope a lot of them, the experiences of last season, will do them well. You're looking at Wirtz and Isak obviously mainly, but sort of come through the experience that they had, which was very difficult, and now with the new manager, more suited to the league and everything else. Frimpong's got it. If Frimpong can find his form, and he's got everything he needs, hasn't he? That fantastic pace down the wing there. I thought he's looked better defensively in pre-season, so maybe he just needs a bit of confidence and a bit of running the side, and he might be someone that can kick on. But again, you're at risk of an injury, aren't you? Because he obviously picked up a lot last season.
Well, let's hope he does kick on, because I do like him as a character, but big lads in the Premier League these days, isn't it? Love bombing the ball in the box. That's not his forte. I know that as a fullback myself, under 6 foot. It's difficult. And then, of course, last season, a lot of the time, there was attack. Well, to start with, there was attacking responsibility put on him, but he like others, he was caught high up the pitch a lot of the time, and that caused problems.
Yeah.
And hopefully, we can put the onus on the wingers this time, if Liverpool ever sign any. What I'm interested to know what viewers think. Actually, what sort of players would you like to see brought into the club? Do Liverpool need a right back? Should they be bringing in extra wingers? Do they need another midfielder to replace Curtis Jones? Just let us know in the comments, and we can pick through it and see what everyone else thinks. But just to sort of round up on his press conference, he was asked about vice captaincy and who would be taking that on, and basically named half the team.
Yeah.
No, a joke. Yeah. So he gave a short list of 3 players who are effectively vice captains, which is Alisson, Joe Gomez, and Dominic Szoboszlai. Then caveated it by saying Alisson might struggle to actually perform the role because of new Premier League rules, which are basically pushing the referee to speak directly to the on-field captain rather than other players on the pitch, which would be a difficult job for a goalkeeper.
Yeah, you don't want Alisson racing out of his goal to berate the ref there, not with his hamstrings. So,
no.
So that makes sense. But no, he's basically said, if it's a seniority thing, then it is Alisson, which I think is fair. I think everyone would agree with that. But because of the rule where players, only the captain can talk to the referees, he cited he used to have the Brazilian, wasn't it, Neto, the goalkeeper at Bournemouth. He said he was his captain there at Bournemouth one year, and he found that difficult, because you have to basically nominate a player to do it an outfield player, so you might as well just save all that. So yeah, Joe Gomez and Szoboszlai being the two outfield ones. Joe Gomez is never too certain of a place in the team, is he? So, and then his fitness issues as well. Szoboszlai, you'd say, is often sort of certain of a place in the team. So you'd imagine when Van Dijk isn't there, then Szoboszlai will take the armband. But Liverpool need Van Dijk to be there more often than not, don't they? Because I mean, you don't even want to get to imagining what life would be like if he wasn't there.
Yeah, I mean, they have lost leaders in recent years, haven't they? And I don't think there's that many within the team that are, you know, sort of the same sort of ilk as Andy Robertson or even Mo Salah. I mean, Alisson obviously very experienced, has won the lot, has a commanding aura, but he's quite quiet. Joe Gomez is quite quiet. Szoboszlai, he's still relatively young. I mean, obviously the new guy from Barcelona, Araujo, is he actually was, you know, Barcelona's captain. He could maybe have some sort of role. I know it's very early days for him, but he could have some sort of role to play. But even if it's not, you know, we don't even know if he's going to be starting games or not yet.
I think the one thing you'd say, I think you, like I said, you go back to it. Szoboszlai is probably the most likely to have the armband in these situations. He's a name that's been touted around for a while. People have their criticisms of him at times last season. I don't think he had a very good season, but at times he didn't help himself around certain things. You'd hope maybe the armband brings him on a bit, and you know, he could be a captain in that kind of lead by example type of way. You know, maybe he'll, if they're struggling, he'll try and dig them out or something. He'll score a goal, or he'll do something in that kind of Steven Gerrard way. You know, of dragging the team out of nowhere. You could see that. There's something there, I think. So he's one that I don't know if people would quite call him a leader just yet, but he's still young, and you'd hope that this new contract, and you know, it's kind of there's a few antics wasn't there that hasn't really endeared him to a few people, and a few suggestions. Maybe he was already looking about certain transfers elsewhere. You'd hope that contract ends all that now, and you know, if he can really show the same form he did last season, but the team plays better, then he's going to have a really good season, isn't he?
Yeah, I just think he needs to mature a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got the perfect platform to do that, hasn't he? So good luck to him, and let's see what he can do. John Welsh says we desperately need a right winger. You're dead right there, John. And he says, as time goes by, it's looking more unlikely that we will sign Barcola. I mean, history says to me, you're probably right, but at the same time, it's not dead. You know what I mean? The deal is not dead. I think it's a complicated deal. Whether it's been further complicated by the possibility of taking another winger as part of that deal, I don't know. I got the impression, you know, last week that wasn't going to happen. It was just going to be Barcola. But
yeah, it's the one thing you'd say is it's not as if other clubs are being that strongly linked, are they? I know there was Arsenal talk for a while, but that seems to have gone away. But you never know; it could come back. But it does lend yourself to think that they are sitting around. I mean, have they been locked in a room all this time and all these talks? Like,
I mean,
you know, maybe that explains why nothing else is getting done. They've just been in the room.
You saw the joke on Twitter, I'm sure. People saying they've had more conversations with their wife than, or their ex-wife than Liverpool have had with PSG about Barcola. So, I mean, come on. Let's find the middle ground. I feel like surely the sticking point has got to be the fee here, hasn't it? And I would say 100 million plus add-ons is fair. You know, 20 million pounds of add-ons if he turns out to be the next Mo Salah.
Yeah,
we'll take that, won't we?
Yeah, and surely it's now, you know, PSG could do with the money because they've just spent a lot on players who play in that position. So, you know, maybe Liverpool have almost come back and say, well, we know you need the money now, so we're going to be a little bit, you know, these conversations that go on, you wonder what gets said in them half the time. But we said it before, but the longer it goes on, you do just have that slight worry about it. But I mean, I thought at the start of the summer, I didn't think he'd be someone to be able to get. So if they can get him, would it change moods? I think it probably would. I think he'd be the big new shiny face, wouldn't he? And I think suddenly people would be feeling like they were this time last year when it's like, oh, Isak and Wirtz, they're two exciting new signings. So, I go back to it. Those two players are still the key I think for everything that happens this season.
I agree. I'm gonna hold comment on them though, because well, I'll tell you what I think, and then I'm not going to say anything about it for weeks. I claim, which is I'm not worried about Isak. I think he knows where the back of the net is, and if you put the ball where it needs to go, he's going to score goals for you. I haven't got a problem with that. I'm more concerned about Wirtz, who I don't think is anywhere near involved in matches as much as he needs to be for someone who was supposed to be building a team around. But it looks like the manager's going to play him in his preferred position, and this is his opportunity to do it. But I want to see him taking games by the scruff of the neck. I want everything to be going for him, and that I'm not seeing. I didn't see it at the World Cup, and I certainly didn't see it for Liverpool last season.
I think he's going to benefit from a lot of pace around him. So if you have the two wingers either sides, and then he gets close to Isak. I agree. I think there's a bit of pressure on him. We saw there's quotes from Jamie Carragher today, isn't there, where he's basically said that. He said, Liverpool need him to work out. Basically, you can't pay all that money and him not work out. So, and he has flattered to deceive. I think with a lot of people, you can see it in him. He's a very there clearly is that player there, and you want him to succeed. You're willing him to succeed. Didn't happen last season. No, did it other than a few little bits here and there. The team needs to get right, and I think the way Iraola wants to play, I think will benefit him. But he needs to do it. Ultimately, he needs to do it.
The top players do it week in, week out, don't they? And he's clearly ultra talented, but we've only seen it in flashes. So now's the time to step up and deliver. I'm going to give him 10 games to do that.
10 games.
We'll
should we have a countdown on the screen?
We'll do it. 10. Yeah, I like that. yeah. We'll just tick them off every week. Yeah. So we've got full Premier League calendar. It's back. I will still be here on Sunday to watch the game. If I want to watch highlights of the weekend, I'll be in Spain from Monday. Can't wait. If I want to watch those highlights, I'll probably want to do it over some sort of secure internet connection. So I'll probably take my NordVPN subscription with me, to be honest with Mark, which just happens to be the sponsor of the Blood Red podcast. Some of the benefits of NordVPN include watching sporting events, TV shows and films which aren't available in your region by switching to a country which is showing the event. NordVPN also protects your private data like bank details, passwords, and online identity. And these features are across 10 of your devices with one account. For more benefits and more information, download the NordVPN app to your device by clicking on the link in the podcast episode description box below. To get the best discounts of your NordVPN plan, go to nordvpn.com/bloodred. And as always, our link will give you 4 extra months on the 2-year plan, and there's no risk with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. On board with Nord. Okay, Newcastle on Sunday. Big game. Excited?
Yeah, it's quite exciting.
Despite us playing everything down because we haven't signed anyone. But
it's quite exciting. It's I think the closer it gets to it, maybe people sort of think about the transfers a bit less and less, and it becomes about a game to win against the side. By the way, you've had a much worse time than Liverpool this summer.
Well, I was going to say they've got a new manager.
Yeah,
Matthias Jasil, I think. Is that how you pronounce it?
He's one of the. I was thinking this before. He's one of those names I've not heard it read out loud yet, so that would be the. Yeah, so I can't tell you. I don't know.
I jumped in at first there, didn't I? Or it might be Matthias Jasil.
Matty, should we call him Matty?
Yeah, Matty. Yeah, I'm like my son. Yeah, Matty J, the ex Al Ali boss.
Obviously, yeah.
They've lost, of course. They've lost Tonali, they've lost Gamera's, Gordon, Matt Target, Kieran Trippier. They've lost a few and replaced them with a loads of players that I haven't really heard of.
Yeah, who might end up being good. But,
they might be.
But right now, they're clearly an unknown quantity. And they've got issues, haven't they? I think Livramento had to pull out the England squad, didn't he, in the World Cup? I'm not sure if he's back yet, so I think they might have trouble at fullback. They've got players who I think the crowd will get behind them. It's going to be a big occasion, isn't it? It's St James's Park. There's going to be a big Kevin Keegan tribute before the game. Obviously loved by both clubs. The fans there will get behind them. I do just wonder what happens if Liverpool can get the first goal, and a club which is a little bit unsure of where it's going. If Liverpool can go 1-0 up, then it might become a difficult occasion for some of those new players that they've got.
Yeah, because although Liverpool may have struggled to make signings, they haven't, it's not like the core of the team has been ripped out. I mean, that's 2/3 of Newcastle's midfield's gone for starters, hasn't it?
Yeah, and good players.
Good
players.
Top quality players. They've lost Gordon as well, who's a great player. Could have ended up at Liverpool easily. But at the same time, new manager will want to make a good impression, as will Liverpool's new manager.
Yeah.
So it should make for an intriguing contest. Let's hope it doesn't get ruined by referees' decisions or constantly lobbing the ball into the box from corners with a crowded penalty area.
I'm trying to say they're cutting down on that, aren't they? But I believe it when I see it.
Yeah. Looking at a few comments here. Gargoyle Blaster. I don't know what one of them is, but it sounds painful. But Iraola will not be a Liverpool player soon or in the next few days. Forget about that. Okay. I think we are starting the season with... this is Kevin Richards now, not the former Arsenal Everton player, I'm sure. I think we are starting the season with the worst squad we've had since Jurgen's first season. At least we can look forward to more attacking football. I think it was... Echo editor Paul Wheelock was saying it might be 4-3 every week.
Yeah, which would be exciting.
Yeah, that'll be interesting, won't it? We had a few 4-3s against Newcastle.
Yeah.
Both went Liverpool's way. Classic games. I won't mind that as long as it goes Liverpool's way on Sunday. So without further ado then, Mark, let's get into sort of a predicted 11. I've written mine down so I didn't forget it.
Okay.
I'll start with the goalkeeper then, shall I? I've picked Alisson in goal.
Have you?
Because I really, besides from the fact that he's the first choice keeper, I'm really not sure on the other guy.
No.
So,
the vice captain's in goal.
Vice captain's in goal. He's not allowed to wear the armband.
Yeah.
Okay, and I presume you've got the same. And I've gone with the same back four that started against Como, which is Frimpong, Jeremy Jacquet, Virgil van Dijk, and Kerkez.
Yeah, I think that half from Jacquet seems like it's already gone into folklore, hasn't it? Of how good he was.
I mean, Liverpool fans are just desperate to grab onto something positive,
but he was
and that was a positive.
Yeah, and the fact that he scored as well, it just put a bit of a cherry on it, didn't it? I think when Araujo signed, I think people would have said he was probably nudged ahead to start that, but I think you'd go Jacquet now, wouldn't you?
I think so, yeah. It makes sense. He really was impressive against Como, and as long as he's fit and ready to go, I'd have him in. I could see Araujo coming on evenly alongside Jacquet if they're defending a lead and needing to defend set pieces or stuff like that. So I think he could definitely have a role. Okay, what about your midfield then?
I think it's going to come too soon for McAllister, isn't it? He's not long been back in training. Obviously after the World Cup, mentioned it before, but feels like Gravenberch and Szoboszlai are the two, and you are concerned sometimes about their sort of defensive attributes and the fact that they can get bypassed a little bit. But we've mentioned the players missing from Newcastle's midfield, so if they can get a real foothold in the game, the really athletic players, aren't they? If they can really stamp authority on it, then that could go a long way towards winning the game. So I think those two are playing in the centre, and then you've got Wirtz ahead of them off Isak.
Okay, I've got I think we're the same there. I've got Szoboszlai, Gravenberch, and Wirtz in front of him, who we're expecting a lot of. So what about? I take it it's a front three.
Yes.
Is that how we're setting up here?
Yeah, so obviously Isak through the middle, and then you almost left, right, who's left?
Do you know your left from your right?
Oh, I mean, I just mean who's left as in who's still there. Gakpo off the left-hand side, I think starts there, and then we've obviously seen Ungamoa play on the right in pre-season. Is he ideal there? No, I wouldn't say. I still think maybe him coming off the left is a bit better sometimes, that sort of cutting inside that he does, which obviously Gakpo can do as well. But I think for now, you'd start with him, and you'd have obviously Munoz on the bench ready to come on for him. Gakpo on the left, Ungamoa on the right, and Isak through the middle. Yeah,
I've got exactly the same. So, sorry I couldn't be any more interested in my appraisal of that. But that probably, if anything, that tells you that he is actually pretty hamstrung in terms of options. It was pretty easy to pick that team.
Yeah, I mean, just you think about who could have got in there: Munoz, McAllister, Nioni. Not many more, is there?
Iraola, maybe.
You're not really asking. You don't want Chiesa to be starting. You don't want Endo. You don't want
Harvey Elliott.
You don't want Tsimikas. Harvey Elliott, yeah. I mean, has he got much of a claim to any of those starting places? I don't think he has he? He might be coming on for Wirtz maybe, but there's just not too many. And you are obviously, there's injuries still, but you can't just sit around and wait for these injured players to come back. You've got to do something about it.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. My biggest sort of concern, just in terms of on-field stuff, is I was happy with how they played against Como. Looked great going forward. Jacquet looked great, but I felt like the defence was exposed quite often when Liverpool were out of possession, and when they were exposed, it always looked like there was a chance Como were going to score. I don't know how you'd compare Como to Newcastle, but
in terms of places.
Well, not in terms of places. I've been to both.
Yeah,
I would recommend you go to Como, particularly this time of year, although it is a lot more expensive. I can tell you how much. But just in terms of how much threat they can offer in attack.
The trouble is with Newcastle, we just don't know, do we? And that's, I think they pre-season they had a few troubles, lost to Everton, didn't they, in Edinburgh, where I think I saw a few Newcastle fans talking after that, and looking at maybe one or two of their younger players who they had high hopes for, really didn't perform, and you'd think, given everything that's gone on there, and it's the same with Liverpool. We're talking about Naoni. There'll be younger players in that Newcastle setup that really could really sort of take their chance now, and I just think it's so unknown, and it's the same throughout the league, isn't it? So many, is it 9 new managers, I think?
Something like that.
Liverpool's first 6 matches are all against teams with new managers. They've got a new manager themselves. It is all a bit unknown. You just what I think Liverpool need to do is I think if Liverpool can play well and get a win, it would just settle down a lot of the nerves. I think the squad still needs a lot of work done to it. That's clear. Everything the manager suggests is that is happening in the background. You'd just like to see a bit more progress on it. If they can get a win, though, I think everyone will just be able to settle down a bit.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the key, viewers, is we're going to have to be patient this season, particularly in the opening weeks at least, until we try and get a few more players in and settle things down and see where they go from there at least. So we'll finish off with a prediction then, Mark. Put your money where your mouth is.
I've got a feeling that Isak's going to score. I've got a feeling he's going to upset his former employers. But Liverpool won't keep a clean sheet either. So I'm torn between a 1-1 or Liverpool to win 2-1. So I'll go positive and say 2-1.
Okay. I think there's going to be goals, but I'm also just a little concerned about how exposed this defence has been. It's a good examination for whoever plays alongside Virgil van Dijk this. So it's going to be an interesting debut for whoever that is. But I've got a feeling this might be a draw, to be honest with you. And I'm going to go with an entertaining 2-2, which isn't ideal and not as good as the last result we got up there. But it's not the end of the world either. So as I say, we're just going to have to be patient. But hopefully, he can get over the line. That brings us to the end of today's Blood Red podcast. Paul Gorst and Ian Doyle will be at St James's Park on Sunday afternoon, bringing you all the coverage with the live blog, as always, and post-match reaction. And then on Monday, we will have the Blood Red podcast reaction show, where I think, Mark, you will be sat in this chair.
I might be off, actually.
Well, yeah. Oh, well, someone will have to do
someone.
it. Yeah.
Someone will do it. We'll find someone.
Do you want to come to Spain with me?
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, all right. I'll tell my son. Anyway, I won't be here, so have a good weekend. Enjoy the football. Fingers crossed for a win, and we'll see you soon. Have a good weekend.